Hey guys, welcome to a new video of Bitcoin Edge. Today we're talking with Adam from Tradingriot. You guys might know him. We've interviewed him before, and today is the follow-up basically. I think it's been more than a year ago right now.
Yeah, it's been quite a bit.
Yeah,
Happy to be here again.
yeah. So just catching up. We won't go. I think we won't go into depth with all the tools Adam uses. He explains them very well on his YouTube channel. Here is his website, tradingriot.com, and Adam on Twitter, of course. Adam, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. It's all good. Now I moved recently, so now it's all settled and back to looking at screens for 15 hours a day, basically. So, yeah, it's all fine.
Was it hard to get back in?
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's I always kind of wanted to, travel and everything when the people always see this, with trading, basically, people always see this as like you can do it from anywhere, and it's this amazing job where you can just live any place you want. And I always wanted to do that. I was actually supposed to move 2 years ago. Like exactly two years ago, I was already kind of set for everything, and then basically the COVID came, so you couldn't
Uh,
basically do anything.
yeah, yeah.
So it got postponed quite heavily, but yeah, like I moved now, and I have this little bit of a kind of struggle with, being in a new city, and you kind of want to go to places, and um, don't really sit in front of screens basically all day. But at the same time, it's just something that I've been doing for so long, so it's really kind of hard to, like, for me, like trading at this point is just kind of like a habit, like
Yeah.
I not gonna say like it's addiction or anything, but like I want to be kind of present at the markets,
Hmm.
taking the trades that I'm supposed to take, and I've been swing trading a little more since I moved, so there is this kind of a uh at least some approach where I just can leave for a couple of hours and not
Hmm.
miss anything. But since I've been day trading for so long, it's really this kind of an area where I know I'm good at, I can put some size into the ideas that I have on this kind of a intraday basis, because like I said, I've been doing it for so long. But on the other hand, it's kind of a, I can't basically leave the screen when I
Yeah.
when I want to day trade. So it's a little bit of a struggle, and I'm still trying to kind of figure out the best way of doing things. So yeah, but overall it's been great.
Is your setup completely the same as well? Little background, I I'm doing a little rebuild of my office and bedroom, so I'm temporarily sitting on in the living room, um,
Yeah.
and I just miss one screen right now. I just have two screens, two big screens, but it takes time for me to get used to it. Missing a screen. Do you have something similar
Yeah,
like that?
definitely. Like I had basically four screens when I
Mm-hmm.
was back home, and when I was moving, I because I came here by car, I just decided to sell everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't, I sold my desk, I sold all the screens and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came here, and the thing is, I'm only here for a year basically. I need to come back home, back to Prague
Mm-hmm.
in a year due to taxes. You know how tax system works
Mm-hmm.
in Europe. It's probably not interesting topic for anyone here who's listening, but yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
like this tax system in Europe where after 6 months, from each year when you stay in other European country, you have to pay taxes there.
Mm-hmm.
And the taxes here in Spain are
Not
there's
worth
this kind of
moving
like,
to.
yeah, it's like this progressive tax system basically where you pay based on income, and with my income it comes like over 50%, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not going to do
Yeah.
that. So yeah, it's like a, since I'm here like temporarily, let's say, I don't really want to, go through like buying everything and then most
Mm-hmm.
likely selling it again. So I'm just working with two screens now. I have this like one big 4K, monitor, and then I have just the MacBook screen next to it. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a difference, and especially when it comes to day trading, like the swing trading that I do, realistically, like you can do it easily from one screen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are in this kind of day trading mode and you are executing somewhere else, then you are watching charts and everything needs to be done very quickly. It's definitely kind of a disadvantage. I
Mm-hmm.
also was used to day trade more markets, not only one, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's I kind of found out that's not really possible with one screen basically.
Yeah, yeah, and what do you trade currently? Like, and what are the differences between those markets, or is it more like I just put my eggs in one basket and I just gonna watch it very closely, or what type of do you seek a
Um,
special market where something special is going on, or are you like, well, I'm just gonna watch this like a hawk and make sure it gets done properly or something, or
Well, when I swing trade, like I basically hold like intra-week positions in different markets, and these are basically like every market. Like I trade crypto, index
mm-hmm.
futures, forex, commodities, basically like anything. I have so many different accounts with different brokers, so I'm kind of very flexible with that. I can basically trade almost
Mm-hmm.
anything that I want, and for the kind of approach that I use, I trade. I think it's like at 14 markets basically that I watch daily.
Mm-hmm.
Which are basically the major currencies: gold, silver, natural gas, oil, ES, NQ, and then few some crypto, like Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, BNB.
Mm-hmm.
These are kind of like the main markets that I swing trade. And when it comes to day trading, I
So,
trade
sorry,
Bitcoin
can we
mostly.
can we hop one back?
Yeah,
A question
sure.
from one person from Twitter was basically how are there certain markets where one thing works and on a different market it doesn't work in your analysis, or how do you like when you decide to do a trade? Are these markets like very
Well,
different for
well, I
you?
do like my approach for trading is basically the same for any market that I trade,
Okay.
which I don't think it's exactly like ideal for like something like day trading, like in crypto. Like I'm very like I know that most people that day trade, for example, they like if they day trade BTC, they usually look at like the aggregated, open interest and all
Mm-hmm.
this kind of stuff. And I know that there's like a huge uh the fragmentation basically of order flow and different exchange, different
Mm-hmm.
traders and everything like that. And you have options and all this kind of stuff coming into it. But since I'm not coming from a solely crypto background and I never used these things when I was trading legacy markets, I
Mm-hmm.
just I just kind of decided to not to do it for crypto as well.
Yeah.
I just felt like like I can add all these tools, and people always kind of try to add everything to their trading because they feel like they are missing out on some important stuff basically. But what you will very often find out is that like the more things you add, like it can do more harm than good basically, on your decision making. Like you have a trade and then you see like a spot CVD, being in place where you don't like it, and you just talk yourself out of the trade. um Solely based on that basically. So yeah, I'm really kind of a sticking with the things that I've been doing the whole time, and not really trying to add or change much, when it comes to the market. But definitely every market is basically, has its own kind of characteristics, in terms of volatility or anything. Like for my personal approach, I know that there are markets where like I have a like a lower strike rate, for example. This is something that I try to kind of monitor closely when I trade more markets. Is like the market by market, performance.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, if you trade more markets, and like after 6 months of just kind of journaling the trades, you will find out that for this one market, in the 6 month period, if it's like swing trades only, you took like three trades basically, and all of them were losers. There's like not much of a reason to continue trade that market.
Yeah.
So the strategy that I use and the approach that I have, and all of this kind of like my philosophy of trading, or how I believe things work and everything, it remains the same. But I'm trying to kind of understand the markets that I trade more, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Good
Yeah.
answer. Good answer. Yeah. Um, good. Good. Um, and you in your channel, and on your website, you always talk about technical things and stuff like that. I mean, I know you do. Like in the previous video, we talked about the Elon trade, for example. But do you still trade a lot around news events? Because lately, I have a feeling news events are playing a bigger impact. Um,
Yeah, like definitely with like everything that is going on, and
yeah.
I've been like when the war basically in the Ukraine started,
Hmm.
I was trading a lot of gold and a lot of crude oil.
Hmm.
It's like February, March, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I kind of was factoring it quite heavily, holding the trades for longer than I would like usually do and everything. But once again, this is something I believe I talked about this previously. Is this is the type of the news event which is like the special thing, like there is not, war in Europe basically happening every week.
Hmm.
It's different type of news than something like FOMC or,
Yeah.
there is a Powell speech, I think later today, or
Yeah.
there was ECB in Europe this morning, basically. These
Hmm.
are for me just kind of a regular events that basically happen, like bi-weekly or once in a month. Um, and they are just kind of result of the like very short term thin liquidity in the market, like all this kind of pulling out the orders into the event,
Hmm.
so you have like a spike on like 5 minute chart. But if you take a look at something like a daily chart, you wouldn't be able to say when there was a ECB day or something like that.
Yeah. And
So when it comes to news, like I am like these kind of regular news when you have just kind of some speech or whatever. I am kind of a mindful of the fact that, for example, if I'm in a trade and my stop is kind of close to the area where you can get just this kind of thin spike,
hmm.
um, from the news release that I kind of manage it based on that. There was a situation today in gold. I think the ECB already happened, and I wasn't sure, and it basically spiked through my entry. Because the release was kind of like made this very um, thin candle, but overall I don't really pay much of the attention to that. I wasn't like looking what's happening on the ECB speech, but it's different from something like I mentioned. The Elon situation with Bitcoin, the war going on in the Ukraine. Like like nowadays, like the war has been still on. I think I don't really, I'm not big a fan of watching any news outlets or anything, but
Hmm.
it's been basically 6 months, but it doesn't really influence the market as much.
Hmm.
It's as kind of a said that it is, because obviously it's not a great thing to happen in the world, but people and the markets basically kind of adapted to it at this point.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not really something that you should kind of factor in. Like if you have some war related kind of speech or anything, like now in September, it's not going to do much to the market basically. But if
Hmm.
like I remember that when the war kind of started, there was like Putin had a speech basically in like a first week or anything or something, and there was like a huge spike in the gold to the upside, and in the crude oil. Uh, so yeah, these are kind of the events that I pay attention to. Something that is quite unusual basically, rather than these kind of regular events that they will happen every month.
Yeah. And where do you get your news? For example, if you do watch news, or because I saw
I
you
look
at the
at
like you had the forex.com, I think, or
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah, yeah.
agenda
It's
there. I saw
it's
in.
forexfactory.com. They have a forex calendar basically there, and you can see news for every country, coming to the next week. So basically, what I do every Sunday, I just open the calendar, mark out the times of the important events,
Hmm.
and that's kind of it. To be fair, like I said, when there is a news event coming, and I am in a trade, and the trade is, for example, like in a drawdown or closer to the stop loss, then or if it's like hovering at the entry, I know there is like a higher likelihood that market will just kind of spike through the stop loss, which it wouldn't do if there wasn't a news event. So I need to kind of manage that. But other than that, I don't really pay too much of attention. I'm not like looking at the
Speeches
FOMC or
itself,
the
yeah.
NFP numbers. I don't really care,
Mm-hmm.
what is the expected versus like real inflation nowadays and stuff like that. It's just kind of, well, I feel like it will drive you insane. Like the trading itself is so stressful enough, and then I would be just like here sitting and stressing out about every kind of news outcome, and watch all the different type of news. So
Mm-hmm.
so no, I don't really do that. I would say that, for example, I have certain schedule, when it comes to day trading. I like to change the schedule on the news days. For example, if I trade US session, from which is 3:30 p.m. my time.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, this is where I generally start the day trade. But there is, for example, CPI, which is at 2:30, I believe. Then on that day, I will just start trading early because there is this. You have this kind of a news
Yeah.
release, which everything gets super thin and market will just spike either direction. But then once the market makers pull the orders back into the books, and
Yeah.
people generally try to trade the kind of a immediate volatility after the news event. You will get oftentimes kind of good trades.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my approach to the news. But like I said, I'm not really
Okay.
sitting here
And do you
reading.
use any specific source for that kind of news? If you do jump in, at 2:30, for example.
No, I know that, like, by source, like you mean like a some
I
sort of
mean,
channel that.
I'm with DB News. DB. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
follow him as well. I know he has a Telegram. I'm not
yeah.
not really part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use there was it's called Financial Juice, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Financial Juice. Yeah, financialjuice.com. That's like a free Squawk basically, which
Mm-hmm.
Squawk for those that it's like the same. It's
Ju-
like the
just to
platform that
like
will.
a little bit of a, um, DB is sponsoring me, guys. So a big shout out to DB. He
Yeah,
is
he's great. Like I think
fast
he's
on
got like a
Telegram.
best crypto news
I,
source.
I,
Like
I
definitely if
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. He's also. I mean, I don't know how he does it. He probably has very good scanners. But like on the second he pumps the news and like on for example, with what do we talk about, CPI numbers? On the second, the time hits, he scans it somehow. He has scanning tools, and immediately within a second you have it on Telegram. And yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
it's even weird, because the market reacts a bit later, just like with the Elon
yeah,
news.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
market just reacts later, and you're like, what, is this okay?
yeah. He's really good. Like for crypto, definitely he's
Yeah.
like a go-to source, and I have him on the notifications
Hmm.
on Twitter as well. He's probably like the only person I have notifications for.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, he's definitely. You have some other things like I mentioned, the financial juice that like you can turn some voice
Yeah.
news, but I don't know. Like with news, it's kind of like complicated because if you will start to watch things closely, like the last inflation numbers, which I believe the last CPI was like 8.5% or something,
Hmm.
which is still kind of fucked up in like a bigger scheme of things. But since the predicted number was a little bit higher, like 9% or something, like market like rallied from that. Like it's like people always say like the technical analysis is this kind of a
It was in the chart.
super
Yeah. Or
super kind of a, like, everyone see different things in chart patterns, but it's very easy to kind of get lost in what you feel like it's like a fair fundamental value for something,
yeah.
and it's like in a lot of times, market will just rally on the bad news as well. So it's
Hmm.
it's not, so I don't know, it's just not something that I kind of
It's
decided
yeah.
to implement to my trading
Yeah,
basically.
it's always hard, to decide what is good news, what is bad news, and
Yeah.
then how big is the impact, um, or is this real? With the Elon news, I remember. I mean, I'm still very thankful for that one. It was a very good trade of mine. But we were discussing at first, like, is this real? And then we were kind of sure if it was real, it's 100x. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
always that
yeah,
little discussion you have with yourself, even if you have the quickest news source. Like, is this good? Is this real? Is this?
yeah,
I mean, with FOMC, for example, what the markets is pricing, but then you have an hour later, you have basically the press conference, or 30 minutes later, you have the press conference, and they can nuke the good news just as the same way. It's
yeah, yeah.
always
And I've seen some documentaries about people who trade news, and it's like, like they analyze everything that Pavel says, when they have like, and there are also like bots for this, like
yeah.
there are algorithms that like scan all the speeches that ever happen, and they just trade based on the fucking like words they say and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's really like you can go like very deeply into this kind of a news trading rabbit hole. But like I
Yeah.
said, it's not really
Yeah.
for me. I don't have any, like people
Edge in
people
it, or
always
yeah.
people always like DM me what I think about the FOMC and stuff, but like I have no economic background. I
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of these things I don't even know what they mean, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a worse, like stuff like quantitative easing and all these different things, and I subscribe to like a lot of like fundamental, like newsletters,
Mm-hmm.
and there is like David Bell. He runs the Macrodisiac, it's called,
Yeah.
and he's like the only person who has this kind of like a like explaining things to stupid people basically, which is
Yeah.
which is kind of exactly what I need.
Yeah.
uh but yeah, I've read like some fundamental papers, and I there was a part when I really tried to understand these things, but it's just like I felt like I can't really be, like I felt like I can't really use this to actually for me to help like establish a bias or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean,
with
yeah.
yeah, and with news, it's like very kind of complicated thing that like they have like a longer time span, for which is not what I do in general. I don't hold trades for like weeks or months basically. So you can like buy, I don't know, something because it's fundamentally overvalued, either if it's crypto or if you just bet on some currency or whatever, and the trade can go against you, for like next few weeks, next few months, basically, until and then there will be some shift where the fundamental side of things, plays out. So yeah, there's it's quite a
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Good point. Good point. We were kind of going deep in it. Um, 1 second.
sure.
Yeah. I had a question on the guy who started basically this interview. I got a comment on YouTube in a previous video. So he had a question as well. Um, Out of all the tools and charts he usually uses in his trading, which is the one he considers the most useful and why? Like what chart is in your trading the most useful? I mean, maybe he means order flow, or just a normal
Oh, I
candlestick,
see.
or
Well, I would say that like I like a lot of things that I do, and people always, always ask me, and especially people who are kind of new to the order flow and everything,
Mhm.
they just think it's so complicated, and it's just too hard to understand or anything. But to be fair, like a lot of things that I do is very simple kind of price action trading.
Mhm.
So I would say that, like I wouldn't be able to trade without a kind of simple candlestick chart. Basically, I might be, there are trades which I take that don't use any kind of order flow factors, especially for the swing. Basically, for the swing trades, when I hold trades intra week or something like that, I very rarely look at any kind of order flow stuff. I really just look at simple price action, look at where the volumes were traded, where is likely to market kind of go and retest and stuff like that. So definitely for me, like a price action, very simple price action as well. It's kind of how I base most of my trades, and then I just use the order flow uh
Spook
to
an
kind of
entry.
see
Yeah.
if yeah to see mostly like if people kind of what people how people behave at the areas where I'm basically interested in
Oh
trading.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. And yeah, look, this is I think quite a good question. How to deal with randomness of a markets? How to deal with randomness in markets and timing the trades for minimum drawdowns?
Well, I think you can't really deal with that. Like you need to kind of accept it. That's like the only way how to deal with it, because like every time I take a trade, like I have a price where I get in, I have a price where I will get out, which is the stop loss obviously, and everything else is kind of random, like I don't know outcome of every single trade. Obviously there are trades where I kind of statistically know that they have a um higher probability of playing out. Like if you will do this for some time, like there are like trades where I take the trade and I immediately know it's like a shit trade and it's most likely not to work out, and I'm just kind of over trading for this period or whatever. But in kind of general, assuming that you are doing things that you are supposed to do, you have some sort of strategy and you are just following the things that you are supposed to be doing, you never know the outcome of everything of each trade.
Yeah.
The edge, the overall edge is in this kind of a longevity in trading, where you just win every time a little more than you lose basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of it. So yeah, and you just need to kind of embrace the thing, like I don't know if each day or each week I'll be trading will be profitable, but I know from what I've been doing that there is very small chance that at the end of the year, for example, I wouldn't make money, or
Yeah.
at the end of the quarter I wouldn't make money, which for a lot of people it's kind of hard, especially if they focus on like day trading and this kind of shorter term type of trades where they see the immediate outcome from each trade, because if you trade like 4 hour chart, you might enter a trade and the trade does nothing for a couple of days, and then you like almost like forget about it, like you're just in a trade for a couple of days that does nothing, you slowly start to focusing on different things, and it can lead to some mistakes. But if you are day trading, you have this kind of a instant response from the market,
Yeah.
like uh things get much kind of quicker, and a lot of people kind of tend to forget about the fact that the outcome of each this day trade they taking is fairly random, and they just really need to just keep adding it and keep trading to kind of see the results over the long run basically.
Yeah. And what kind of trading would be best for growing a small account? Any tips would be great. Cheers, mate. That was the last question of the guy who basically
Yeah.
started this interview. Uh, um,
well, well, if you like, this is something that I get asked all the time, and it's very kind of easy to understand, to answer if you really think about it. Well, like if you have a small account and you obviously want to like swing trade, and you will end up taking like one trade a week, your account will grow very slowly basically, and also it will take a long time for you to get any sort of like real experience, to get like a data backing your trading, because like there is obviously like I can think something works, because in my head it sounds cool, but I need to kind of trade it over and over again to have this kind of a win percentage, and have any kind of data behind it. If you are growing a small account, you definitely should be focusing on this kind of shorter term trading. I wouldn't say you necessarily need to like day trade or scalp, but something that I do for like the swing trades. When I trade like on a 30-minute chart, and the trades last, like anything from like 1 to 3 or 4 days basically. So when I trade more markets, I still get like, around like 5 trades a week, I would say. So you just need to trade a lot, and it's people often kind of think that they can start with very low amount of money and run it very quickly, but it's just kind of like not having enough money will only lead to gambling, and yeah, it usually doesn't end up very well.
Yeah, I agree. And people look at salsa and want to be like salsa tequila, for example. And I'm talking about the Bybit competition of what is it, 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
thing is like, okay, salsa was first or second, but there were ten
The
thousand
thing, the
losers, right?
thing, the,
There were.
the thing is with like with Salsa, and he made like couple thousand percentage right from like a small account.
Hmm.
And I've seen like a lot of other people on Twitter who like start with 5K and run it to 100K in span of month or whatever. But and obviously it's like a huge magnet for the new people, and people always kind of cherish this so much, and they always talk about it. Like Rex Proof, he ran like $500 to like 300K or something like this.
Hmm.
Quite insane in a couple of months basically.
Hmm.
But the issue is like with for these people, it's not really a big deal. Like they put $1,000 or $5,000 in the new account, and they be like, okay, let's do this kind of challenge, or let's do this kind of competition.
Yeah.
If it ends up well, I will have this eternal Twitter cloud, and
Yeah.
I make some quick money. But if this is not something that will work out, I'll just lose the 5K. It's like no big deal. Like they
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
position
They can
where
do it
five thousand
emotionless. Yeah.
dollars Yeah, yeah, where like 5K or 10K or whatever amount of money they put in, it's not like a big deal. Like I can start, some doing something like this. I will just put 5K into the account. Will do like huge bet sizes. Martingale everything, and if I lose it, happened. Like I knew what I'm getting into. But for a new people, and for a lot of people that are not in this position, they think they can replicate the same thing. They will put $5,000 into the account, but they don't have that amount of money to be okay with them just blowing up the account basically.
Yeah.
So they will be very emotional, because for a lot of these people who do these challenges, who do these kind of competitions or whatever, it's just like a fun time. Like it's
Hmm.
they are not trading their P&L basically. They are just
Yeah.
kind of you know doing it for the sake of doing it. But yeah, it's not the case for like 90% of people,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't really realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. So, bit on top of that, how important do you think is like the feel of the market, or like your honed intuition? You know, intuition of the market. Jim, what is it? Dalton talks about it as well. How important do you think it is?
Yeah,
Can
I
people start
think
trading if they, like read everything, read every book? Can they start? Do you think, or like do they need 10,000 hours of
no,
practice?
no,
Or
like you really need to be trading. Like that's like the best way how to learn anything is if you will actually be trading. Like
mm-hmm.
you can only learn as much about technical analysis, about the order flow or whatever, from the books, from courses, or but yeah, and I had this as well, like few years ago, when I was kind of learning to trade. I got some course, about the order flow. It was especially for me in the order flow kind of section, because I traded, only price section before that, and then I started to learning about the order flow. And it's like I said, it's probably more complicated than it actually is. It's nothing too like insanely hard to learn. And what I didn't kind of understand back then was it's really just you needed that kind of screen time. You need to trade the market, you need to understand like what sizes are significant for, because that will be obviously different for any for every market. So yeah, it's really just a kind of screen time is something that a lot of people are like, yeah, I will start trading when I finish this book, I will start trading when I finish this course.
Yeah.
But in fact, you can learn a lot of things kind of in process uh, of just trading, and just journaling your trades, or just journaling what are you doing, how are you feeling during the day, at what times you find out to be taking the most trades, and everything around that. Um, and yeah, you need to, once again, you need to kind of. I'm not biggest kind of fan of trading on the demo accounts. I'm not sure even if it's like a big thing on crypto. Like when I was trading more legacy markets, like you could just set up the demo account
Mm-hmm.
on kind of all these MetaTrader 4, 5, and C traders or whatever. I don't think it's like a huge. There's not really a way to trade on demo account on something like Bybit or Binance.
Mm-hmm.
But people are very afraid to kind of trade with real money. A lot of people will just start to trade on demo account, and they will have a great results, and basically paper trading, and they will think that they will just turn $1,000 to 20,000 on the paper account, and they
Mm-hmm.
will think that they can very easily replicate this on with the real money. But then once again, that fear kind of kicks in. You don't want to be losing your hard-earned money basically, and it will go to shit very quickly. So yeah, definitely people need to start trading. Obviously not like immediately, like if you are completely new to trading, like don't just jump into the markets. But once you have this, once you have seen some courses, once you read some books or whatever, there is not much more to kind of extract from that, I would say. And the best experience you will get is really from just trading the markets. But you need to be kind of a normal thinking human being basically when it comes to how much you risk and your kind of expectations, because there is quite like a high likelihood that you are not going to make 1,000% on your trading account in a month.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah. It's just like risk management, like every after all big moves, on Twitter, they're popping threads up about risk management and stuff. And risk management, just like that, like you have to be
Yeah.
wrong. You have to be wrong a couple of times to understand risk management, um, and yeah, then you will understand it, um, basically.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's yeah, like people up till this day, on on Twitter, they don't understand how leverage works, how derivatives work. It's I feel like this is a kind of a lost battle, because like there is a lot of people who will kind of never get their head around it. That the leverage is not this kind of evil thing that will only result in your losing, all your money and stuff like that. But you need to have a kind of a mix of, I would say, the both, because there is a group of people who will be like, yeah, like I am managing my risk, very well, but I'm still not making money. Well, that means kind of like your strategy is shit.
Yeah.
So you need to, like you need to have a working approach first of all. If you are using, like fucking Elliott waves, and you know can everything, and your chart looks like a kid's drawing board, and you just kind of every trade you take you will lose, then you can have a perfect risk management. You can risk 1% per trade, be have stop losses and everything. But if the thing that you are doing is not working, you are not going to be able to make any money basically.
Yeah.
um so yeah, you need to kind of have a mix of two. You obviously need to find an approach that it works, and then you have to kind of manage your risk on
Yeah.
top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Let's move on. One other question I got was how to enter a trade using previous day value area low and value area high versus current day value area high and low. How to enter a trade using those? So the previous
So
days and the current day.
yeah. So when it comes to the value areas and either
Maybe
if you're you
yes.
sorry.
Maybe it's hard to explain in
No.
without. Okay.
I think it's kind of fine. It
Okay.
makes sense. Well, either if you use volume profile or market profile or whatever to establish your kind of value, what the value is. When it comes to the previous day or any type of previous period, that thing is kind of set and done. The day closed, your value area is, what it is. It's not going to change basically compared to this kind of current day, which current day is kind of developing. There are volumes coming in. Your value area high and value area low will be moving throughout the day. It's how these things basically work. So I always kind of put more emphasis to the previous day value area or the previous period of anything that was kind of a closed, and then I use the kind of a developing or the current day value area only to kind of this kind of minor confirmation, or to look at it from perspective or where I am not too kind of keen to open the trades, for example. Because if you use something like a volume sorry if you use something like a volume profile, or if you use something like a VWAP, and the market is trading at the kind of current day point of control, or the VWAP for the day basically. Uh, these are the levels where the most volume is executed, throughout the whole day basically. And if you look back, and you will see that market is kind of always chopping around that POC or chopping around that VWAP. I don't really want to be trading there because first of all, everyone is trading there, and on top of that, people can't really kind of agree on if it's good area to buy or if it's good area to sell. So what this will kind of result in is that market, you will just enter the trade and you will be just sitting in it for a longer than you want to be basically, because there's just so much volumes coming in at the place. So yeah, definitely, when it comes to the value area and volume profile, you want to be trading at these kind of extremes, which are the value area high and value area low, and you kind of want to avoid trading around the VWAP, around the POC, and stuff like that, basically.
Okay. Thanks. I think that's a good answer. I'm not much of a profile trader, so you're the
Yeah.
expert in that. And about sorry, I'm hopping a little bit out of questions, from question to question. How did this year go for you so far? What was your best month? What was your best trade? How did you get it? Yeah, what was basically your highlight of this year so far?
Well, my best period, and I know that this something that might not, sit well with some people. My best period this year was when the war started, basically.
Okay.
Um, I had a very good trades in commodities. I had very good, like, my best instrument this year was a crude oil from all the things. And I really like to trade oil market. um, it's very good. It's very volatile. When it comes to crypto, it's been kind of decent. I don't have any kind of trade to kind of highlight. Really didn't take anything kind of significant. I was mostly on the short side. Like, my biggest highlight when it comes to crypto was I haven't bought any spot whole year. I've been flat since basically like end of November last year. Not
Hmm.
holding any crypto. So I think that's
That
for a
that marked the
lot of
top,
people.
right?
Sorry.
That marked pretty much the top, right?
Yeah, yeah,
December, I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
I even posted about it on Twitter back in November, and it was basically the time where I sold everything, and I haven't bought nothing ever since. I had very
Wow.
short period of buying BTC this year when it was when it came, I think, from like 21K to like 24K. Oh, no, it was way earlier. It was like in 30s. Yeah, I held spot for like a couple of days basically this year.
Okay.
I bought the let me just quickly look at chart so I'm not saying
Sure.
something stupid. Yeah, from 38K to like 47K, I held a little bit of spot.
Oh, that was
Then I
when.
tried to kind of a play on bigger continuation towards like 50K. That didn't work out, so I cut the position, for smaller profit, when it comes to spot holdings. But yeah, I haven't held any kind of crypto this year.
That,
The I think it, the rally now in ETH and BTC, which happened in from basically from June, especially in ETH, I missed on that because this year for me, like I said, during this winter period when the war started, I had basically the best month and the best kind of a window for me. But then at the end of the May, I basically moved. I had to move from the apartment in Prague, where I stayed, and I had to be back in Prague in July. So what I decided to do basically was just travel for 2 months. I was in Italy, kind of all around the place. So yeah, I took this kind of a quite unusual break for me, and I wasn't really trading that much, and I'm just back now to things like from like start of this month basically.
okay.
So like from June, like I basically was on like this bigger 3 month break, and I was
Perfect.
just very occasionally trading. Like there were like one day in 2 weeks where I was just didn't want to do anything, so I just opened a notebook and I was trading a little bit,
So you
on
so,
like a
so you took
day
the
trading.
so you took
Sorry.
the saying like walk away in May quite serious then, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I feel like from like my past experience, like summer is not usually the best kind of a month to trade. But I would say like this summer was actually pretty good in both like crypto and legacy markets. There was quite a bit of volatility.
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin had this rally from basically middle of the June, which was actually like yeah, like 19th of June. It rallied quite a bit for like a 2 months almost, so and if you even if you take a look at some like daily chart, you have these kind of like bigger daily rotations, not something we've seen in these last 2 weeks when basically we have just flat candles, it's like a death volatility. But during the summer it was fairly volatile.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 19th of June is basically the day that I left to start traveling, so I wasn't taking part in any of that.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so yeah, this year has been kind of a normal. Like I said, I had a good run when the war started. Uh, like I said, so some things. It's often like I talk with some people. It really doesn't sit well with them. Making profits on stuff like this. Like I remember
It's
Tom
yeah.
Dante. He's one of the people where I learned quite a bit from.
Who?
And Tom Dante,
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
a forex trader.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
very well known.
Yeah.
He came up with the whole SFP thing, which everyone basically uses nowadays. And he has a course about trading bonds, European bonds, which is basically the main market I was trading for a couple of years. And he talks about when you read online about the terrorist attack, you need to buy bonds immediately, and when they release a body count, you need to exit the position basically.
Yeah.
And this is something that like I said, doesn't really sit well with a lot of people, but it's just how it is. Like if you feel bad, you can donate the money or
Yeah.
do whatever with it. But yeah, my best period this year was around the war.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand, and yeah, we find it very sad as well, certain news, but we have to protect ourselves as well, and
Yeah,
it's just with energy and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, we're just here to make money, and it's with every trade we take. There's one on the losing side and one on the winning side, sometimes.
yeah.
Um, yeah. um,
But that was like I said, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like you had a this kind of a rally, and I was making like most from a gold and crude oil, and this was kind of that news event which is really like obvious. Uh when you just kind of know that these things will react quite well based on that. Like the gold has had a huge rally in February, to that kind of high which it haven't seen for a lot of years, and same the crude oil also rallied quite well uh in that period. So yeah, and this is just kind of this news release which is like fairly kind of no-brainer to take basically. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, yeah, yeah. Totally agree. Um, Do I need to ask any other questions? No, nothing from what I got in. Some meme questions. I just made a yeah. So okay. And what do you expect to happen soon? Are you in any trades right now?
I'm not in like any position that I would speak about. Like I said, a lot of things that I do are very short term, which is mostly due to the fact that and I have like friends. Like I think I kept the fact that I trade, for a living for quite a long time. But nowadays I have some friends that they know what I do, and sometimes people ask me what I think will happen. Where is Bitcoin going, and stuff like that. But I have really no idea. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, like the things that I do are more short term, and they are short term because of this. I even after all the years that I've been trading, like I like to remind myself that I'm not this kind of a smart, person. Like I know like fuck all about, directions of the markets. It's not my place to know, basically. My place is to look at the areas where, because this is basically how my kind of overall my trading, works. Is just I like to work at the areas where I know that people are forced to exit from the trades. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like to buy something when other people are forced to sell, and I like to sell something where other people are forced to buy. And I like to trade around the areas where you can kind of clearly see someone is stepping in with the size, and you look at the place and you see they are kind of defending their positions. These are like only two things that I do, and these happen, at random places. Sometimes they happen at like technical levels or whatever. But yeah, since it's very kind of short-term technical based trading, and they work the best in a short-term kind of a intraday, intra-week stuff, I have really no idea what's kind of coming next. Like you have a ETH merge coming now. To be 100% fair, I don't even know what the merge is. Like, I know
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of changing from something to something, but yeah, I don't really care about it at all. To
Yeah,
be
and
fair, like,
yeah, I mean like with the news as well. You just gotta know what is good news, what is bad news. There's everything you need to know with CPI numbers, for example. It's
yeah,
no
yeah. And
point in being.
I don't, I like when I talk about crypto on Twitter, and especially, if you post something like a bearish chart, it's like a biggest sin you can do, and you have all these reply guys, coming at you, who are like very emotionally invested
Mm-hmm.
in things, which you can very clearly see from how people behave on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really care. Like I don't have any kind of a fundamental, belief. I don't think that Bitcoin is this kind of a thing that will change everything in the world, and ETH is this kind of a new thing that will change everything in the world. I just see these things as kind of a risk on assets that have a history of making a huge returns, which are on a huge volatility basically. So for me, it's really just another kind of asset for speculation.
Yeah. No,
And
no.
but it's same with like the other stuff like trade. Like I trade S&P 500, I trade Nasdaq, I trade gold, but at the same time I don't think gold is this kind of a amazing thing that is the best store of the value you can have, or I think that S&P 500 is this kind of a index you need to put all your money into. I just look at them, how they perform in the past, what the volatility for this market is, and I just kind of trade very kind of immediate or short term, price rotations where I feel like there is a edge in the things that I do. But yeah, I for there's nothing that I trade where I would have some sort of like emotional kind of belief in things, because
Mm-hmm.
this can get very very kind of bad very fast. If you trade Bitcoin, it's a crypto thing. Like, to be fair, like there is not many Peter Schiffs on Twitter who think gold is the best thing in the world, but there is a lot of people who think that crypto is this kind of a be all and end all. But it can get really bad for you if you trade on leverage, with margin and everything, and you have this kind of a
Emotional investment.
yeah,
Yeah.
emotional attachment to something that you trade.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, did that change over time? Did you? I don't know exactly when you got into crypto, but were you? Did it ever change? Were you? I don't know. Saw it as a religion at one point, or it never was always just about
Well, to be
money, just
fair,
USD value,
I
or.
got into like I got into crypto in 2017, basically,
Mhm.
towards the end of the bull run.
Mhm.
Like I think I bought my first Bitcoin or first ETH in like November, and
Mhm.
the bull run ended in January.
Yeah.
I actually ended up not losing much money. I
Wow.
basically kind of come out from the whole situation
Wow.
around break even.
Whoa.
But it was around the time where I got way more serious into trading, where I was trading for like a little bit at the time, and I knew that trading is something that I want to pursue. And back then it was very different. Like Bitcoin was only traded on BitMEX, and basically you had like extremely high volatility. You
Yeah.
had these huge candles with huge wicks. The BitMEX was kind of going down almost every day. You had this
Mhm.
kind of maintenance or whatever the
Mhm.
message was, where you couldn't even trade
Mhm.
there. So I very quickly kind of moved towards the legacy markets, and I was trading basically only legacy markets until like September of 2020, where I came back to crypto because it was the time where uh, basically when COVID started, I started to be a little more active on Twitter. I started a blog
Mhm.
at the same time as well, because I was kind of bored, and I knew that the information that I wanted to kind of talk about is not really talked about much online. So yeah, it was like around the time, and I went on the Twitter, and there is not many people from like a legacy. Like if you follow people who trade legacy markets on Twitter, they are like these kind of mostly macro guys in their
Mhm.
50s. It's
Yeah.
it's not like a
They're
you
boomers.
know yeah, like really older people. People who trade ES are from like the order flow scene, are like really these kind of mostly people from like Texas. They think they are best in the world, so it's kind of hard crowd to interact with. And crypto has been always this kind of a fun, like for the basically the first person I started talking on Twitter was in Silico,
Oh
so. And
fuck.
you know how these conversations go, basically.
Yeah, I
so
know how
so
these
and
conversations go.
yeah, and with kind of my dumb humor and everything, I kind of fit right into
Mhm.
like, and we started, hanging out on Discord and everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I basically went to the crypto then, and it was at a great time, and in a when the basically the bull market started, and I made some money on that, definitely holding a some spot.
Mhm.
I was able to get into things, but at the same time I didn't have any sort of conviction coming into things. So like I bought Solana at $1, and I sold at like
Wow.
3.
Oh
I
fuck. Yeah.
I bought BNB. It was $14. I sold it like 35 or something.
Fuck.
So definitely, like in hindsight, if I would probably stick around since 2017, and if I had this maybe a little bit, if I looked into things a little more, um, I might would come up better from like the whole bull run, basically.
Yeah. And do
I definitely
and just like does it do you think about it often? Like is it painful to think
no
about?
no definitely, I have some things that, if I mention, like when I remember something like when the bored apes came out, I
Mhm.
went on OpenSeas and I wanted to buy 4 of them,
Mhm.
which were like under 1 ETH at the time. and the gas at the time was like $1,500, and I was like, this fucking stupid thing. I'm not going to
Scam.
pay,
Yeah.
$1,500 in gas
Yeah.
fees for like a four pictures of an
Yeah.
ape. Yeah, like, but I don't know. Like, I don't really like. First of all, I kind of do well for myself, I always wanted to trade, which it kind of uh came out well for me. I'm not really the type of person who would dwell too much on the money side of things. Basically, I
Mhm.
never
Mhm.
really cared much. I'm not, like, I know a lot of people. They make money and they just start to immediately buy, some expensive shit like clothes and everything. That never really was a thing that I felt like,
You need it.
is has any kind of value for me.
Yeah.
So I still kind of, just take the money from like the perspective that I'm not, you know, like, I'm very grateful, for example, for the situation that I know that I can pay my electricity, in the winter, basically,
Yeah,
which
and,
is
and,
like,
and you have the freedom, to work from
yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
else,
like,
for
definitely,
example.
as
Yeah,
as
that's
as I like to kind of bitch on trading and say that, like, I need to be present at the market. I'm At the end of the day, I'm still sitting here at home, no one is standing behind my back, basically,
yeah.
talking shit that I don't work enough or something like that. So yeah, definitely. Uh, but yeah, it's, like I said, if I would stick around in crypto from back then, and if I would maybe, build some more conviction in, because when I was, for example, buying Solana, I had like very little idea of what it is, like
Solana,
what it does,
did the SBF tweet make you buy it? Sell me
Uh,
all the
yeah, I
soul you
think I
want, blah
think
blah.
it I think it was around that, like it was
Mhm.
around that time. And when there was a DeFi, the DeFi summer,
Mhm.
like a DeFi had a huge run, in 2020. I was buying something like Aave, at very low prices, or when the Uniswap came out, also I sold very early, watched it whole thing kind of unfold. But I really came to the space from this kind of like a trading perspective. For me, like, I always stand by this fact that I really don't know what's going to happen next. For me, it's important to kind of manage my risk, because obviously, in hindsight, it worked out for crypto during that period. Everything went crazy and everything, but there was quite a high probability it wouldn't happen. Like, if I would go all in on, Solana, and it would really went to kind of like, zero from $1 or something like that. Like, what I would be doing, but then, so for me, I always look from anything that I buy, and everything that I kind of put my money into from this kind of a trade perspective. And obviously, there was a period in crypto in last 2 years where I left a lot of money on the table based on that. But on the other hand, I made some decent money as well. And not having this kind of a insane fundamental conviction, that Solana is this new next thing, or that ETH is going to, 10K, and it's the new internet of everything because people buy pictures on it. I was able to very calmly at the end of the November look at the charts, see that it's extremely overextended. There are some signs of this is not going to most likely continue any higher, and I just sold everything, and had a happy
Oh,
life
very,
since then, basically.
very
So
good,
so
very
yeah,
good.
it's very double-edged sword in this
Yeah.
you know in this thing, because obviously people are like, you like didn't make that much money from the bull market, you left so much at the table, and people always think like how insane it is. But like, buying something is very easy, but getting out from it is usually the hard part.
Yeah.
Like, you can enter a trade very quickly, very easily, but once that you see money kind of going up and down, and people very often start to kind of ignore all the signs and everything, and they just kind of round trip the whole trades, and sometimes even worse,
Mhm.
lose everything they make and stuff like that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I am Obviously, in hindsight, and I like to kind of be critical to myself, and maybe if there will be another period when things will go really parabolic, I will implement some more kind of stuff that will allow me to stay in trades longer. But like I said, there is this kind of opposite side where I just know when I have to get out, and I haven't round tripped anything that I make, and yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's it can make you loco, but you're making money every month, and I think that's a big factor in that as well. If you're losing every month, you will have problems with hindsight. But if you're in USD value, up every month, it will pain you less. And if you spend enough time on Twitter, you see enough people disappear or basically rant about losing it all. So yeah,
yeah.
it helps with it. Uh, so
Yeah, like
yeah,
you can see how the whole super cycle thing with 3AC,
yeah,
who were kind of like everyone was looking at them as these kind of a trading gods, like fucking prophet of future and the biggest conviction that crypto is going to
rule the world
uh you
basically. Yeah,
know
yeah.
insane prices, but like look how that ended up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that is.
they were pretty cocky as well. I Susu once said, if you're over 1 year or something or a couple of years in crypto and you're not a millionaire by now,
Yeah,
you're pretty
yeah,
much
yeah.
stupid or something. Stuff like that. And I'm like, what, bro?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I listened to some of the podcasts, and I think there is like overall issue with the people, and I sometimes there is this Twitter page, the Confession of Traders, or like where people post this anonymous stuff, and the most of the stories basically is like people like people make a lot of money very quickly, and they will just lose it. Like if you will read the stories that are on the page, it's they all have like this very similar theme that people turned 5k to 500k or whatever, and then they just lost everything
Yeah.
because people are not people don't know how to deal with that. Like if I would start trading, and like if anyone starts trading and they make from 10k, they make 500k in span of like few months, let's say. uh they start trading, and obviously they are not going to risk like $1,000 on trade, because instantly this is like very low amount of money to care about. When you have a 500k sitting in your account, in your trading account, you are not going to risk $500 on a trade, because that's like nothing, right? So people will start to risk tens of thousands, let's say, or like 10k 20k on a trade, but they will immediately kind of realize that they are not you know kind of used to these numbers. And when they make money, it's like you make 10k on 500k account, like you see this like, yeah, like it's not nothing too insane, and it
Yeah.
leads you to kind of bet more with every trade. But but if you lose like $10,000, that feedback is very different from that loss, because it's
Yeah.
like, you start realizing, oh, like this is 10, like I could buy all of this stuff for 10k, so that's like a huge issue with people who made quite a bit of money, during the bull market, and 90% of them will lose it in a way, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, for me, no different. I was just lucky, and now when I came in, there was no leverage, and I was just a believer, in
Yeah.
Bitcoin back in early 2013, and I got in, and it was the best year of my life, because it went to like, what was it, $1,000, and then came the 3 years of pain, basically, and then
Yeah, yeah.
and then Bitcoin was at $1,000 again, and I thought, okay, this is pretty high, I'm buying a house now, cash.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, it was 20x. So it was
Oh, nice.
that took me a
Yeah.
little to get over,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just I wasn't gambling with leverage back then, so
Yeah,
it's all
like I
good.
mean, like I don't want to sound like make it sound like I'm a huge non-believer in crypto. I think crypto is very cool overall. Even the trading crypto, like how everything is kind of very transparent and everything. It says I like this market. I wished that, like if Bitcoin continues to go up, it's all great. What I kind of feel like it's always going to ruin everything is basically just people, like you have this all these kind of maxis and people are just kind of straight up scamming, in
Yeah.
DeFi, and you have so many of these things, over the years, which kind of always shows that people will always find a way to kind of fuck up and kind of get very greedy in things that are supposed to, act very differently, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, totally. Do we have anything else to add to this fun chat? By the way,
Well, I don't know. If you have any kind of questions,
um,
um,
I think we basically already had one, like for executing, for example. Do you use any tools for executing and limiting or executing and monitoring your trades?
I like I said, I'm using fairly simple stuff. Only thing when it comes to crypto, it's always kind of uh better to use limit orders. Based on how much fee you pay in on crypto exchanges, which is insane, by the way, compared to like legacy markets. And there are tools like, like Silico has this terminal thing, but you have like Quanttower, basically any kind of more sophisticated platform than using the exchange. Window, has this kind of option that you will basically buy or sell, the best bid and the offer, which is like the first price in the order book, which will basically like puts the limit order at the place where market is trading at the
Yeah.
moment to kind of have this simplest uh, explanation of that. So that's a very good kind of substitution of using a market order always, because you will be paying less fees when if you are day trading, and if you are trading on a kind of higher frequency is definitely something you should be implementing. But other than that, like I said, the stuff that I do is fairly simple, or I don't think it's like anything too complicated, basically. So
Yeah, and guys, if you want to know more in depth about trading, we didn't go that in depth about tools and stuff because Adam is just killing it on his website, tradingriot.com, and his YouTube channel. But you probably already know it. And let's make an end to it. What do you say?
sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for
yeah,
having me again. It was nice
yeah.
chat, nice
Thank
to
you.
kind of catch up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Thanks, Adam, and guys, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and see you guys again next time.